doing more of in this country, because people are coming here and they're ripping off taxpayers. And I, for one, don't want to see bizarre. And if you want to have the idea that you would be here in this committee defending violent murderers from being deported, that you would be defending violent rapists from being deported, that you would defend people who took advantage of the good people of this country of their taxpayer dollars, that is bizarre. For our enemies, joins a cartel or steals millions from American taxpayers through fraud raises the simple question of whether that person actually met the requirements for citizenship, right?
It does, yes.
And more than astounding. It should be unconstitutional. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of astounding, your comments are astounding, Senator. You mentioned a few words, horrific. I think to the American taxpayer that's been ripped off by people who came to this country, to rip them off, that's horrific. You talk about bizarre. No, it's my time now. It's my time. You went over time. It's my time. Bizarre is the idea that you would be here in this committee defending violent murderers from being deported, that you would be defending violent rapists from being deported, that you would defend people who took advantage of the good people of this country of their taxpayer dollars. That is bizarre. A terrorist who kills American citizens, you know what's bizarre is your defense of that. So forgive me if your 24 million Americans should be, or naturalized citizens should be afraid. That's ridiculous. You have no. You have nothing but fear-mongering here. What I'm saying in this bill is, if you do those things to the American people, if you take advantage of taxpayers, you're not recognized. If you commit a terrorist act, if you commit wholesale welfare fraud, within 10 years, you're damn right we're deporting you. If you're convicted, it's not being accused of anything. If you are convicted in a court of law of these crimes, absolutely we should not only convict you, but we should deport you. Gone. And if you think that's some sort of like negative assertion towards me, I'll take it. I love it. That's what we should be doing more of in this country, because people are coming here and they're ripping off taxpayers. And I, for one, don't want to see it anymore. And if you want to have that debate in public, we can do it, but that's what this hearing is about, to examine the Scam Act. So I'd just like to expose a few of your lies in your most recent dissertation on the dais here. So, Mr. Cuccinelli, I want to ask you, federal naturalization law requires prospective citizens to show good moral character, attachment to the Constitution, and a disposition towards the good order and happiness of the United States, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So a naturalized citizen who later joins ISIS, spies for our enemies, joins a cartel, or steals millions from American taxpayers through fraud raises the simple question of whether that person actually met the requirements for citizenship, right?
It does, yes.
And really, on many of these instances, you're building on the 5 years to 10 years, right? I mean, within 5 years,
that's right. That's the biggest difference.
That's the biggest difference
Plus
here.
adding the fraud pieces.
So I want to use, with the time that I have, let's make this a little bit more concrete. And you referenced this individual. I want to start by addressing the case of Mirsad Ramich. Mirsad Ramich was approved for naturalization in 2009. But refused the oath, refused to cite the oath of allegiance at his naturalization ceremony, and instead recited the Islamic oath and cursed all non-Muslims. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that Mr. Ramich at that point was attached to the principles of the Constitution and well-disposed to the good order and happiness of the United States?
Quite the opposite.
Okay. But he was allowed to be naturalized anyway, correct?
He was.
Okay.
In factory line fashion, undoubtedly.
Yes. So Ramich later joins ISIS and participates in atrocities that killed more than 100,000 people. Is that correct?
He did participate in ISIS battles, yes.
Okay. Do you think that Mr. Ramich joining ISIS and engaging in terrorism with a few years of becoming a citizen is evidence that he was not attached to the principles of the Constitution at the time of his naturalization?
It certainly is, yes.
Okay. So I want to talk about the terrorists at Old Dominion. This man was born in Sierra Leone and became a naturalized citizen. He was then convicted of attempting to carry out an attack on behalf of ISIS, but he was released from prison back onto the streets of the United States rather than denaturalized and deported, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And the consequence of the U.S. legal system allowing him to roam free in our country rather than denaturalizing him and deporting him was that he was able to commit a terrorist attack involving an ROTC program in Virginia, killing a lieutenant colonel. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
This is just the absurdity. I actually think this is sort of a common sense solution here, but that's where we are. Mr. Fishman, I want to ask you, under current law, joining a terrorist organization is grounds for denaturalization, but only if that occurs within 5 years, correct? 5 years of the naturalization?
Yes, and it's also a rebuttable presumption. The naturalized citizen is free to present evidence that no, in fact, he did support the Constitution in the trial.
A heated Senate hearing erupted when Senator Eric Schmitt forcefully pushed back against criticism of legislation aimed at denaturalizing and deporting convicted terrorists, fraudsters, and criminals. The exchange quickly turned confrontational as Schmitt accused opponents of fear-mongering while arguing that individuals who betray the United States should lose the privileges of citizenship. The debate centered on the proposed Scam Act and whether Congress should expand the government's ability to revoke citizenship from those convicted of serious crimes. The hearing opened with Senator Schmitt delivering a passionate response to accusations that the legislation would unfairly target naturalized Americans. Schmitt rejected those claims outright, arguing that the bill focuses on individuals convicted of serious offenses, including terrorism, large-scale welfare fraud, and crimes against American taxpayers. According to Schmitt, the idea that law-abiding naturalized citizens should fear the legislation is nothing more than political fear-mongering. He stressed that the proposal applies only after criminal convictions have been secured in court. The senator argued that Americans are tired of seeing people exploit the country's generosity while taking advantage of taxpayers. In his view, anyone who commits acts of terrorism or major fraud after becoming a citizen should face not only criminal punishment but also deportation. Schmitt then turned his attention to the legal standards required for naturalization. Questioning former immigration officials, he highlighted the existing requirements that applicants demonstrate good moral character, attachment to the Constitution, and a commitment to the good order and happiness of the United States. Witnesses agreed that these standards are fundamental to the citizenship process. Schmitt argued that when newly naturalized citizens later engage in terrorism, espionage, or massive fraud schemes, it raises serious questions about whether they ever truly met those requirements in the first place. That if you're enjoying this breakdown of today's hearing, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest political coverage.
So, but in this instance, Jallow joining ISIS occurred more than 5 years after his naturalization. So denaturalization, current law wouldn't cover him, correct?
Under current law.
Correct. And even if he had been denaturalized, the Supreme Court has interpreted the immigration statutes to not permit that conduct as deportable offense, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But that was a statutory holding by the court, so Congress, and this is the point, Congress is free to change that, correct?
Well, the courts indicated Congress is free to lower the government's burden of proof in these cases. The question of how long post-naturalization an act can occur and still relate back, that will be the Supreme Court telling us.
Correct. And that's why I think it's important to note that the Scam Act includes a provision that abrogates that erroneous holding and would ensure that terrorists like Jallow are denaturalized and deported. I want to now recognize...
Could I comment, Senator?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Fishman noted correctly the rebuttable presumption. I think post-naturalization, anything you do will be subject to a rebuttable presumption based on the Supreme Court's history of rulings in this area. I do not think you'll ever have the constitutional authority like you do on the front end of naturalization. Congress has near plenary power to not give an individual the opportunity to rebut the presumption raised within the law, just based on the existing, long-time, really, Supreme Court precedent.
Yep. Senator Welch.
To make his case, Schmitt pointed to several high-profile terrorism examples. Point 1 involved Mirsad Ramik, who was approved for naturalization but reportedly refused to recite the traditional oath of allegiance during his citizenship ceremony. Instead, testimony indicated that he recited an Islamic oath and expressed hostility toward non-Muslims. Witnesses testified that despite those warning signs, he was ultimately naturalized. Schmitt noted that Ramik later joined ISIS and participated in terrorist activities abroad. He argued that such actions strongly suggest the individual was never genuinely committed to American constitutional principles. The senator then referenced another case involving a naturalized citizen who was convicted of attempting to carry out an ISIS-inspired attack. Despite the conviction, the individual was eventually released rather than denaturalized and deported. Schmitt argued that allowing such individuals to remain in the country creates unnecessary risks to public safety. The discussion then shifted to the legal limitations of current law. Witnesses explained that joining a terrorist organization can support denaturalization proceedings, but existing statutes generally focus on conduct occurring within 5 years of naturalization. Schmitt argued that this restriction leaves dangerous gaps in the law, that he highlighted cases where individuals allegedly joined terrorist organizations more than 5 years after becoming citizens, making denaturalization efforts far more difficult. The senator maintained that Congress has the authority to strengthen these laws and close loopholes that allow convicted terrorists to retain citizenship protections. Supporters of the legislation argued that the Scam Act would ensure individuals involved in terrorism, major fraud, and similar offenses could face both denaturalization and deportation. Witnesses also discussed constitutional concerns and noted that courts would likely continue requiring safeguards and opportunities for defendants to challenge government claims. The hearing showcased a sharp divide over citizenship, national security, and the limits of congressional authority. Supporters argue that convicted terrorists and major fraudsters should lose the privilege of American citizenship and be removed from the country. Critics warned that expanding denaturalization powers could have unintended consequences and raise constitutional concerns. As lawmakers continue debating the Scam Act, the question remains: should citizenship be permanent, or should it be revoked when someone betrays the values they pledge to uphold? What do you think? Should convicted terrorists and large-scale fraudsters face denaturalization and deportation? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching.